What is the difference between December 31st, 2024 and January 1st, 2025? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? One can say a second, or one can say perspective. So today in the classroom, our last classroom of the year, we're going to be discussing perspective, seeing old things with new eyes.
And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
Hi, my name is Lillian McDermott, and I am a certified life coach. I am a certified holistic coach, cancer coach, and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show Classroom. If this is the first time you're tuning into the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. So, yes, I said it. The difference between December and January, December 31st, January 1st, is really 1 second, 1 nanosecond. What is it about that second that gets people excited about pushing everything back? And so today we're going to be discussing how to look at, the old with a new set of eyes, how to look at the devastation, the things you want to leave behind and not look at anymore, with the idea that there's a new year coming around the corner, but that new year could really be the next minute, the next hour, the next day, the next month, whatever it is for you to get you, or maybe just now. What about now? Now's the time to make some decisions to thrive in 25, right? That's his, I'm sure everybody's using that because it rhymes with 25. And so, since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that I am going to be able to bring you the last class of the year 2024 as we go into 2025. I'm going to be taking some time off, but really not. I've got to prepare for an event that we're doing. There's the holidays. There's so much going on. So I want you to get out your pencils and papers because we're going to learn and grow together. We're going to learn how to kind of start dissecting 2024, embracing the good, the bad, the ugly, and then setting ourselves up for success or to thrive in 25. Because really, the difference again is perspective. But if you knew that you could be successful at whatever it is that you desire, if you knew you could be successful, what would be different? Hmm? I'd love to hear from you. What would you do different in 2025 that maybe no money is not a limitation, fear is not a limitation, your circumstances is not a limitation. If you knew you could succeed, what would you do? And how would you do it differently? And so here's what we'd like to accomplish today. You and I, what all of us are going to be accomplishing today is to really sit down and look at 2024. You may not have looked at it before watching today or listening today. If you're on podcasts, you're listening. If you're on YouTube, VidShoot, or Facebook, then you're watching and listening. But if you are curious as to how can I get off the hamster wheel so that I can do something different and new by choosing something different and new, that is what we're going to be discussing today. Now, many of us have issues with health and wellness. We want to rethink we kind of like put our goals that we establish for 2025, and we call them resolutions. And I am not about resolutions. 92% of resolutions are accomplished. That means, I'm sorry, not accomplished. That means 8% of people that make resolutions are successful. So we need to change that by, instead of calling them resolutions, really putting it into commitment. Just recently, I coached my small group that I coach every month. These are people who have attended my I Am the Solution workshops that I do. They're virtual workshops. They're um, food for the soul. There's like food for the soul. And this is where you can kind of like take ownership and get shot out of a cannon without the with the get rid of the victim no more. Like I'm not a victim anymore. So get rid of victimization. You get rid of pointing fingers at everybody else, and you realize, wait a minute, what I have in common with my health in every situation, with my doctors or with the food that I am eating, with the parties that I go to, with my everyday lifestyle, the only thing in common is you and me. I have all those things in common. You have all those things in common because it's about perspective. It's about looking within. I know that Dr. Lorraine Day would say, you don't want to look up within, you want to look up. But see, God is in me. So I look within to find the wisdom of God. I also look outside to find the wisdom of God as well in the Bible, in the written word. And so, because I know scripture verses, these scripture verses have sustained me in my life. Even when I make the dumbest choice, I know, not taking it for granted, that if I remain faithful and turn back to God and God's ways, that God will help me bless it. One point that I always give, that I should have never married my first husband. And that could be the old eyes, right? That's the old eyes. But here are the new eyes of looking at it. By the time I met Robert, I couldn't have children. But God gave me two beautiful kids from my first marriage that Robert would end up adopting later on. So, in my willingness to um, to not only keep the commitment of my first marriage, we ended up having two children, but then after that, it just wasn't meant to be. 3 years later, the man that God intended to raise my children came into my life. And so that's my new eyes. So I could say, oh man, that was a horrible mistake. Or I can say, look at how God blessed that that stupidity. Let's just say it, that growth opportunity when I was 21. So 8 years later, that relationship ends. And at 31, I meet and marry my husband that I have for 30 years. And he was the one that God chose. So in every situation that I find myself in any circumstance, even if you think, oh man, this was the worst thing I could have ever done, this is the dumbest mistake, it's going back there. It's going back to that. Why did I make that decision? What have I learned? Remember the four questions of taking 100% responsibility. So let's talk about that. The four question is, how did I create it? Now that I know that I created it, what's going to be different? That's number two. I'm sorry, what are the gifts and lessons? So how did I create it is number one. What are the gifts and lessons is number two. What's going to be different now that I know that I created it and all these gifts and lessons, what's going to be different? And number four is, how can I take the lessons that I've learned and actually help other people through this? So if I were to take that, you know, how did I create? Well, I married my ex-husband. I married and had children with my ex-husband. What are the gifts and lessons? The gifts and lesson is that I had two beautiful kids. Yes, it was a mark that I thought was a failure in my life. Yes, it was a mark, but when you start looking at things different, when you change the way you look at things, The things you look at change. So the question is, what are the gifts and lessons? Well, I learned, I do not harbor any resentment towards my first husband, even though he left the children, abandoned the children. I don't hold any resentment or anything because of him. I have Brittany and Blake. And so I am so grateful to him. And what a different way of looking at that relationship with the eyes of gratitude than with the eyes of, like shame or blame or fault or duty. Like I should have stayed married to him because I chose him and we had children. And I'm not advocating a divorce. I'm just saying that if that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. But for me, step number three, what was important? What now that I know how I created was I married someone that I knew wasn't a Christian and I thought that would be converted like that because we can change our men, right? Wrong. Number two would be what are the gifts and lessons? The gifts and lessons. Well, the lesson was tough. It was a tough lesson to learn, but the gifts were the children and the beauty of, having my biological children as well. What's going to be different is number three. What's going to be different and what became different is that when I chose, um, but first of all, I didn't want to get married ever, ever, ever. But once Robert came into the picture, there was something about him that I just could not ignore. And it was I didn't tell him anything about me. I wanted to learn about him because men can be chameleons. Not all men, but men can. If I'm an open book, a lot of women that I coach are an open book, and then they find themselves dating the same guy over and over and over again because they become who you are. And then once they got you, they change. That's some men, not all men. So then so what was going to be different? I made sure that I wasn't an open book with Robert. I made sure that he was a Christian, preferably in my faith. And at the time I was Catholic. And I would say that now I'm basically, even though I grew up Catholic and I have no regrets about that, and I honor the Catholic faith, my husband and I have different views about spirituality today that may not be in alignment with the Catholic Church, but I can go there. I can go to my daughter's non-denominational, my neighbor's Jewish temple, wherever it is that I'm being called. I know God is everywhere, even there, because I bring him with me. And so that those are some of the things that I did different. And when my husband and I have my current husband, Robert, my current and last husband, when we have disagreements, we don't just leave and sweep things under the carpet. We follow this, what are the gifts and lessons? What do we learn? What's going to be different? How can we move forward from here so that this doesn't happen again? Those are things that I learned and he learned as well in his first marriage that, they need to be addressed, or else there's going to be a separation between the couples, believe it or not. Even if you say, oh, yeah, we've moved on. No, not until there's a, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and there's a forgiveness there. How can we move forward and how can it be different next time if this ever happens again? And then the fourth one is, how am I going to use this to help somebody that's going through, the same issue? Well, I am. I just finished telling you about the story. Now, I could tell you about it with tears in my eyes, beating myself up, or I can tell you the story of how God knew that I really wanted to have children. And not only did he give me, and I used to say, if God wanted me to have more than two kids, he'd give me more than two arms. So God is the one that has the final authority and the one that, you tell God your plans and you tell God your plans and you'll make him laugh for sure. And so those are some of the things that, I feel are so important that whatever it is that you are trying to get rid of, that instead of doing the same thing and not look at it anymore, good riddance 2024, welcome 2025, but what's going to be different? That's question number three. How did I create it? And just be honest. And by the way, when you say, how did I create it? You cannot do blame, shame, fault, or duty. It's just facts. I married my ex-husband. That's how I created it. And, the gifts and lessons and what's going to be different. And then you do that. You can do that with just about anything in your life that you feel either victimized or you feel like it was a raw deal or you feel you can change it around till you say, wow, this was a gift. This was a lesson for me to learn. So I don't have to repeat this ever again. I may make the same choices in the future, but I will have different parameters or different expectations or different whatever it is. So I don't know if this makes sense to you. If this makes sense to you, or if you have any questions, just write down your questions below. You might even consider attending. I haven't done a workshop in a while, but if you're interested in joining a workshop, we can maybe create a one for 2025. Maybe at the beginning of the year, we'll create one for 2025 so that you can do something different and new, so that you can create what you want. So when you go to whenyouneedafriend.com and you look at the top little bar, or if you're on your cell phone, there's like the little 3-layer cake, whatever you call it, and you click on that, it'll say 100% responsibility. That's where you find these 4 questions. So if you say to me, oh, you went through that too fast, it's because not only you can go there to the 100% responsibility page, but I share my story about my 100% responsibility journey. And this is what we do here at whenyouneedafriend.com. We take 100% responsibility for everything that happens in our life. And I'm not saying fault, blame, shame or duty. I'm saying 100% ownership. And that 100% ownership leads to freedom. It leads to empowerment. And that's how we need to posture ourselves to thrive in 25 is that empowerment that we kind of like give away. We give our power away to the next man we date or the next woman we date or the next boss we go to or the next doctor we see. We need to know what we want so that we can create more of what we want. Because if we don't know what we want, any road will take us there, and anybody else's opinion that sounds good will take us there. But we get to do this differently this year. Because when do you get 25? When do we get 25 and thrive together? That rhyme. So we need to make intentional decisions for 2025. Now, one thing that we can do also is create a vision. Create a vision for ourselves. And if you're interested in that, I'm not going to push this on you. And honestly, I make more money if you do it one-on-one. But if there's enough of you interested, text me at 407-373-5959. And you can say, I want your workshop, or I just want to create a vision. Just let me know, and then I will reach out to you and I will say, this is the date we're going to do this. Are you in? Is this the day we're going to do that? Are you in? And that is what we're going to do for 2025. And we can do it as early as January. We also had the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit, where we're going to be focusing on issues like cancer and autoimmune condition. And by the way, it starts with an autoimmune condition and it just keeps getting worse. And then it can lead to cancer. Not everything leads to cancer. But if you have an autoimmune condition and you're just ignoring it and not changing your lifestyle, then it could lead to other life-changing, life-ending diseases as well. So the question I asked at first was, if you knew you could do anything, and it has nothing to do with finances, your situation, you can't use any excuse. If you knew that whatever you were going to do, you were going to be successful, what would you do? What would you do differently? So we first talked about responsibility and taking ownership and looking at things from old to new by using the 4 questions of responsibility, which I highly recommend. And we could do a coaching call if you wanted to, just on doing, and I can help you one-on-one in how to do that. And I will put my coaching link underneath the description so that you know um, that this is an option for you too. If you don't want to, do a vision board with a bunch of people, or if you don't want to do a workshop with a bunch of people that you can learn and grow with, it's just so beautiful. But I want to leave it up to you. I'm not going to be chasing after you. I want you to say to me at 407-373-5959 or at Lily at whenyouneedafriend.com, because you do not have to be in Florida. We can do this virtually. And I've done this with a bunch of people. And if you're interested, we can create this this event for you, for everybody who says, I'm in. I want to thrive in 25 and I need to create a vision, or I want to go through your weekend workshop that is less than 2 or 3 hours of a coaching program. So you get like 17 hours for what you would pay for 3 hours. So I know people say I'm dumb about that, but I find that the goal is to get as many people as excited to take ownership for their life and use one another to kind of bounce, wow, look at what they did and how they did it. And when I process somebody, they can see themselves in that person. And so if you're interested in, again, you can email me or text me. The information is right behind me. So no excuses. So if you knew there were no excuses. So let's talk about rethinking your health and wellness. If you knew that what you're doing today has gotten you sick, what would you do different? If you knew that eating fried foods or lots of meats or lots of processed foods is getting you sick, would you be willing to learn how to eat differently? And of course, in January 8th, we're going to do Dr. Furman's favorites for 2025. We're going to do things a little different this year. Instead of having the last class of the year be Dr. Furman telling you what the 2024 things you should get, we start with the year. And he's going to say his must-haves. So is it that you want to join me in going whole food plant-based? So there's so many different ways that we can work together. What is it for you? So revising old habits. Go back and think, when was I the healthiest? What was going on in my life at the time? Was I eating a lot of junk food? Was my life less stressful? Was I taking time for me? These are all questions that you can ask yourself and be honest, really. Anyone who is overweight, anyone who is overweight, and I don't think you would be overweight by choice, but if you're overweight and you think you're eating well, then let's talk about that. Because when you eat well for your body, then your body says, thank you, I can release this because I'm concerned about famine in the future. So now I can just start releasing whatever it is that we need to release. Could it be that the chips that you like, the milk and cookies at the end of the day, that extra glass of wine, could that be what's adding the weight on your body? But beyond that, what's adding inflammation. And all diseases have inflammation in common. If there's no inflammation in your body, you have a greater chance of being disease-free. But do you? What's that next layer? Mindset, perspective. Because if you think that I'm eating pristine and in come the yo-hos and the ding-dongs and the ice cream and the cakes and the croissants and the bread and the carbs and all of that, then think again. You're not being honest with yourself. But if you take a step back and say, okay, what is what my body needs? Now, I'm going to have a class on this, but I'll give you a tip on it. It's called Gut Check, and it's with the same people that I do Avasia and my PEMF machine and the Axiom Hydrogen Therapy that are in my Shop Now bag. They also have something called Gut Check. Now, do you guys want to enter this together? Do you want to do a gut check with us? And we can do an event and I can tell you what we're going to charge for that. And you can do this and virtually. They send you a kit. You prick your finger and their labs analyze what is causing inflammation in your body. And then they ask you for 3 months to avoid that. And then you see how you feel. And let me tell you, when I was, let me see, when I was in my 30s, I got really, really sick and I gained 6 pounds that I could not get rid of. But I ate pretty good. I ate pretty good, but my stomach hurt and I was feeling my knees, my joints were hurting. And because God is so good, he brought people in front of me that were my teachers, not intentionally. They weren't like saying, "Hey, let me teach you something." But because I was learning that food allergies can cause psychotic reactions. They could cause inflammation in the body. Food allergies can cause brain fog. Food allergy can cause autoimmune conditions too. That's like the root cause is that you're eating something that your body is, maybe you're putting chemicals in your body because maybe that is a GMO food and it's causing whatever it is. Now you get to find out what is that thing that I need to, or I get to eliminate and see how my body responds. And since my body is a healing machine, which is the mantra, my body is a healing machine, I must treat it like a temple. We all have a temple. Our body is the temple of God. So if you knew that you had the keys to the temple, the holiest of holies, whether it's the Taj Mahal or the chapel or your most holiest of holies, and you were in charge, would you allow terrorists to come in? Would you allow the terrorists to come into that temple? And the answer is not knowingly. I would hope that you wouldn't. And so what I'm saying to you is we are allowing the terrorists to come in. For me, it was wheat, dairy, peanuts, almonds, eggs, peas. So those were the things that I was allowing in. And my idea of a snack, a healthy snack, was peanut butter and jelly on wheat toast. Oh, by the way, did I say wheat and did I say rye? Peanut butter and jelly on wheat toast with a glass of milk. Oh, so I was really literally killing myself by having those healthy foods. So I thought. And I didn't know, by the way, that if you take a protein and you put it between two pieces of bread, that becomes a bomb, like a toxic bomb. So what do we eat for comfort foods? Pizza with lots of pepperoni, or we'll have a hamburger, or a chicken burger, or whatever that has that meat inside of it and the carb. Eat the meat. If you want to eat the meat, I'm not encouraging you to do that. But if you want to eat the meat and you want to have the cheese, and I'm not advocating that as a diet, just don't have the bread. Maybe you can have the bread at a different time. Don't have it with the protein. So these are things that if you learn these new truths and you know that this is what's causing the issues, would you do something different? Can you thrive in 25 by changing your gut balance, by changing the things that you allow into your temple that are not terrorists? So think about it. Write down what are those things that you know could be hurting your body. Like my mom used to say, anytime I have peanuts, I get this pimple on my nose. And she said that every time she ate peanuts. But I would say, Mommy, why do you eat peanuts? Because I love them. But they don't love you. Why do you have peanuts? I don't believe in that. But she just proclaimed it. She just declared it. And every time she would get a pimple on her nose. Now, my mom, I will tell you, was diagnosed with diabetes like maybe 15 years ago. My mom chose not to change her lifestyle. She chose that. She also chose to eat the way she wanted to eat. She was actually proud of the way she was eating. And when she was diagnosed with diabetes, it didn't matter. And even when she would take the blood, by then, to measure her blood, dementia was getting worse, and diabetes is dementia 3. So guess what happened when my sister and I and when we were able to have more influence over the way she was eating? My mom doesn't take insulin. My mom doesn't take diabetes medication. She no longer has diabetes. She has normal sugar levels. Why? Because we changed the way she was eating. Because now she has no choice. She doesn't know any better. She didn't know any better then, even though we told her that she needed to change her lifestyle. So, what about you? If you knew something you were allergic to was causing problems in your gut, would you eliminate it from your diet? And if the answer to that is no, then you really need to think about how important is that piece of pie or that thing that you're allergic to that is making you sick compared to your health. Where are you with that? This is where we get to dissect and kind of like perform this autopsy on our belief system. Now, I would have people say to me, well, you got to die from something, Lily. Of course, you do. You are going to die. I mean, my father just passed away. My mom, my mom has dementia, and she is as strong as she can be, but she doesn't have her mind anymore. She's 90 years old. My dad passed at 93. My dad's birthday will be tomorrow. He would have been 94. So when you think about dying, that's one thing. But what if you survive a stroke? What if you survive a heart attack? What if you survive something that will lead you where you can't function the way you functioned before? And I've known people that have had major strokes because they thought that a stent was the answer to their problem. It is not. It is a lifestyle change. Most diseases are lifestyle choices. You heard me say most diseases. So no letters on people that are saying that, oh, my diabetes is inherited. No, it is not. And unless you had some, childhood that it was brought to you, only 5% of your DNA is been transferred to your child, unless you've done some major, major drugs or done something else, that's where we're going to be looking for our guidance. The good news is, and this is such great news, and I hope you will join me and celebrate this, that 95% of all disease is lifestyle choices, the way you think about your life. I just spoke to someone a little while ago who told me that they had cancer and that they feel hopeless. Well, that's one emotion that feeds cancer. Being victimized, that's another emotion that feeds cancer. Because first it's a thought, then it's a feeling, then it's an action. We need to turn those things around. We need to turn that ship around so that we feel hopeful, so that we see the good news and how did I create it? What are the gifts and lessons? What's going to be different? And how am I going to use this for the greater good? What would you do differently if you knew you're doing something to make you sick? And that if you were to change that one thing or two things or even five things that are habits, or, maybe you want to bring some of the habits that you used to have when you were healthy, like maybe fasting or exercising or herbal medicine or eating a more natural, organic diet. If you could do that, and then and if your limiting belief is that the stuff you eat is gross when you're eating healthier, then think again. I can prove to you, and I've been asked by so many people to do classes on how I eat. Now, I don't eat 100% well, but 90% of my diet is healthier than most people's diet, or my 5 or 10% that when I'm unhealthy is healthier than most people's diet. So I don't want to compare to somebody who eats worse than me, and then I get like, oh, well, if they eat that, I can eat that and more. No, I don't do that. I look at what is welcoming to my body, what is blessing my body, and then I go from there. And then I make my decisions, my choices. But when I'm in that 10%, I know that I'm going to have to make up for it somewhere along the way because something's going to give. If I keep pouring that drop into the cup that eventually runs over, which is dis-ease. Now, as I mentioned before, we're going to do another summit. So please look below and the that we're going to have the summit. Look below and keep looking at my post. It's going to be right now we have April 5th as the date, but as we go into January, if anything changes, we'll let you know of those changes as well. But mark your calendars, and we're going to be focusing on cancer and autoimmune disease. Why? Because they're so connected. They're so connected. So, looking at breath work, for example, when you wake up in the morning, breathing through your diaphragm and taking on the day. And when you talk about breathing through the diaphragm, it's like your rib cages expand, and then right below your rib cage, right there, that's where your diaphragm sits. And so that's what you want it to like balloon out when you breathe in, whether it's through your nose, you feel it in your belly. It's a belly breath. And then you can just slowly, and then that puts you in a calmer state. You could also do the FLEXBEAM. You could also do the avasia with the vagus nerve. This weekend, I helped a friend who had a splitting headache. She thought she was going to throw up. She suffers from migraine. She just had a car accident. And I treated her vagus nerve with avasia, and she couldn't stop singing the praises. And that was like maybe a 5-10 minute treatment that I did on her that took away her headache, took away her nausea, took away her sadness that she may have to leave and not carol my mom. She was able to stay, carol my mom, and stay a little bit longer. And I just love it when you become curious about things instead of critical. How can that little machine make someone feel so good? Be curious about it. Check out my Shop Now bag. Go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please subscribe to my website. Let's make everybody that is watching this today, share it with people because that's a way you can help the classroom grow by sharing, by making comments, by asking questions, by putting emojis, the little hearts and the thumbs up and all that. That helps me grow the classroom because once you get so many, the algorithms cannot touch you. And I'm looking forward to this new administration, which we found out that the algorithms were forcing people like me to be hidden. So I'm hoping to see what's going to happen in 2025 to see if my algorithms change so that people can learn these new truths, thanks to Bobby Kennedy Jr., who has been appointed a part of the cabinet for this next administration. And I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from it and how we all going to be part of the solution. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Like I said, please subscribe to my website at whenyouneedafriend.com. You can email me if you're having a hard time subscribing. You can email me your email address, and then once when I add you, you still have to opt in. So it's a two-step process. Then go to my social media, like and follow me on all social media. We're also going to start a Rumble account. We've already started uploading it, but it's a lot to upload these videos, especially during the holidays. So I don't know, I'm not going to make a commitment to when I'm going to get it done, but we're hoping to get it done. Also, you can go to my Shop Now bag. That's where you're going to find the FLEXBEAM and the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit and where you're going to find my greatest work that I've done, the New Truth series with Dr. Lorraine Day. You can get it online, which is much cheaper, and you can also get it on DVD, which is what I sh just showed you. And so anyway, there are so many ways that you can change your makeup, change the things you put on your body, the way you think by joining some of our workshops and seminars that we're going to be doing in 2025. But you need to tell me by texting me 407-373-5959 that you are ready for a change and you really are interested in either doing a vision for yourself, or you want to do it in a group, or you want to do the I Am the Solution virtual, virtual workshop that is, it's basically food for your spirit and soul. This is like really education, for your spirit and soul. And last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom. And I will tell you, more than ever before, we need your donations. So if you want to donate before 2025, so in 2024, make a contribution. I don't care how much it is. It will help with next year expenses. Our current expenditures have grown exponentially. I don't know what it's going to be for next year, but we need your help. We need your support. So please give generously. I don't care how much it is, whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month, a one-time donation of your time, talent, your time, your talent, your finances, your treasure. Anything that you can do will help us grow. So today we're talking about seeing the old year with new eyes. So before you get to 2025, do this homework. There is no difference between December 31st at 12 o'clock or 11:59 to January 1st, 2025, which is my granddaughter Claire. She'll be 4 on that date. But other than that, there is just like a second. You can create that second at any time of your day. At any time of your day. And I've done this before where I could say, it's over. Happy new moment. Happy new moment. So when you listen today, if you feel encouraged, if you feel hopeful to try something different and new, reach out to me. Reach out to me. Let me know that you want to be a part of the growth of 2025 so that you can thrive. Again, I'm not going to chase after you. You tell me what you want. And I might even have, for all of you who text today, I might even have, or like before 2025, I will give you a discount as well. So, I know that I'm being vague because I want you to want this, regardless of how much it is, because I'm going to make it affordable for you, period. Okay, so then the next thing is that I get for people that really want to grow, is their relationships. That's part of the vision. What are those relationships that you want to see a difference in? What are the relationships that need mending right now? Are you willing, if you knew that reaching out to that person was going to help you to mend your heart, because all these unspoken traumas, all these unwillingness to forgive, unwillingness to bring someone else into your circle. Now, the only exception to that rule is if the person is abusive towards you. If they are addicted or they are abusive, you can love them from afar and do the Ho'oponopono that I've talked about throughout many, many years. Ho'oponopono is the Hawaiian prayer that a psychiatrist used to kind of help inmates that were in a mental institution in Hawaii. He couldn't travel there, so he did it by praying over each file that he had. And he would say these 4 questions, four again, The four questions of responsibility, four questions of Ho'oponopono, or statements of Ho'oponopono are, I'm sorry. You could say, and this is internal dialogue. You don't have to say this to the person. You can say this as you're thinking about that person. Like if you're having a hard time maybe forgiving someone, or someone's having a hard time forgiving you, or you're having a hard time with the behavior of someone, you can love them from afar. Remember, there's a difference between forgiveness and trust. If you don't trust the person, perhaps maybe you could start by doing the Ho'oponopono and mending some of the hurts that you have. So the first one is, I'm sorry, and then you tell your story. I'm sorry that you perceived me as hurting you. That was not my intention, but I'm sorry that I hurt you. I did say those things, but that was not my intention. The second statement is, please forgive me. So I'm sorry, please forgive me. And please forgive me for me not being aware that this was hurting you. I am sorry, but please forgive me that I, you know, bulldozed you, or that I just didn't act the way that best supported you. Please forgive me. Third one is thank you. Thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for listening. But thank you for receiving my heartfelt gratitude. Thank you for forgiving me. Thank you for accepting what I'm saying to you. So that's the third statement, is thank you. You can add whatever you want. I'm just, saying, just giving you an example so that you know. And then I love you. I love you. I don't want us to be, what I want for our relationship is to grow, to love. And you can do this at any time. I do Ho'oponopono when I'm having difficulty with someone I love, when I wake up in the morning, and when I go to bed at night, or whenever I think about their name. And I share my story of forgiveness, radical forgiveness. It took me 3 years, and that's the give you peace, love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. That is what I wish someone that I thought I could not forgive. I wanted to forgive because I knew forgiveness was for me. That wasn't condoning their behavior. It was, it was for me. So it took me a while to do it, but the story of that forgiveness is what those little things. Give you peace, love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. I say that after every class, after we're done. I wish you that, just like I wish the person who hurt me. Did they apologize for what they did? Not to this day. But I knew this person could not be outside of my life. I knew this person that if I continued, um, if I continued not forgiving, then I knew it would hurt me. And it was, it was. I couldn't sleep. I was expecting an apology, but it didn't come. So I started doing this because I was getting palpitations. And so I started wishing that person every time I thought about their name. I wished them love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Now, they avoided me, but after 3 years, we found ourselves at the same place at the same time. After 3 years of wishing that person love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance, and at the time I didn't know about Ho'oponopono, I ran to them. I told them that I loved them. They hid from me. They kind of like ran away when they saw me coming. But I went to them. I told them that I loved them and that I missed them, and we danced together. And so I know that that sounds, like a quick sitcom type of thing where it's all solved in like 30 seconds. But no, it took me 3 years of my willingness to forgive, 3 years of wishing that person, because whenever I felt that pit in my stomach, I knew it was hurting me. And I could no longer do that to myself. So if you know that this could help you heal your body, because we already talked about how health is very connected to your mindset and how you feel about someone, how you're feeling about yourself. If you knew that by doing little things like this, it could set you free, would you do it? Once again, the being right about that person hurting you, more important than setting yourself free. which one weighs more? Which one is the one that's going to lead you to be dis-ease free? So those are the questions that you get to ask, and we could do it together if you want to. Whether it's, someone that has cancer that needs to kind of release whatever it is that, because you can eat well, but food is not the end all be all. You can drink all the water you want, but that's not the end all be all. It is all connected. It's all connected, just like Dr. Claire Stagg says, it's all connected to your well-being, because all those emotions get trapped into your body and you're the one that pays the price. Your brain doesn't know who it's angry with. It assumes it's you. So keep that in mind when you say, I will never forgive that person. No, what I'm hearing you say is, I will never set myself free. I'm not condoning the other person's behavior, but that person's behavior is being revisited in my mind and my body every time I think about it, or when I don't think about it, when my subconscious mind sees something that triggers it, it brings it back to that inflammation. So we've talked about all these, we talked about, taking 100% ownership, our health and wellness, nutrition, diet, whatever it is that you want to talk about, relationships, how to create that feeling of, I'm going in the right direction. I'm going towards love instead of fear. Because there's only two choices. There's either love or fear. And when your choice is made from fear, it's not a good choice. See, the fear of me not walking down the aisle the first time, I even told my dad, Daddy, I don't think I can walk down the aisle. I don't think I can let go of you, Daddy. And my dad said, I don't think I can let go of you, Lily. And he pushed me down the aisle with roller skates so that, hey, she's your responsibility now. But the second time, I said to my dad, I can let go now, Daddy. And Daddy said, I can let go now too. And he walked me down the aisle. So, but how wonderful that I was able to kind of like get to that place where I could identify no fear. If I don't walk down that aisle, my parents are going to lose a lot of money on the beautiful wedding they planned for me, versus the second time that I knew that this is what God had ordained for me. And this leads me to my final point. And not saying that this is the last, this should be the first, always, always. But some people tune in later, so I want to make sure that all of you are listening to right now. My last point that I would like to bring in to thriving in 25. If you do not have a higher power, let's talk. Let's talk about it. Not to debate it, but to say, what do you have to lose? What if you're wrong, right? What if you're wrong? What if there is a higher power? Well, I know there is. Okay, but what if I'm wrong? What if there is no higher power? Then I still have that hope and faith that there is someone in charge of me that's going to turn everything so beautiful. And when I think that, first it's a thought, then it's a feeling, then it's an action. Worst case scenario, if there is no higher power, at least your mindset is freed to say that higher power is going to make things work out for the greater good. And that higher power is in me, so that even if it's you who's doing it, whether you believe that higher power is in you or not, you're going to work things out. If you allow that higher power to speak to you and what is the best thing for you, and that is where the sweet stuff is. That's where the sweetness of life is. To know that God is in control and that I don't need to be in control, that I can allow God to speak to me and say, okay, I gave you the 10 commandments. So look at them. Where are you in all of this? Where are you in all of this? And do the best you can with what you have. And kind of give yourself that opportunity to say, I'm gonna trust here. I'm gonna do something different and new so that I can trust that there is a greater power. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. There's nothing to lose here and everything to gain. But what if you knew that there was a higher power? How would you behave differently? What would you seek? What would you look for? How would you give up control, thinking that you know more than that higher power? Because trust me, if something is not for you, and God ordains this as that is not for you, why would you want it? Why would you want it for yourself? Why would you want it for your family, your friends, your children, your grandchildren, your great grandchildren? What if there is a higher power? I know there is. And for those of you who have reached that place, then great. Act like there is a higher power. Stop trying to control God and be angry with God because it didn't turn out the way you wanted and now you're going to throw a huge tantrum. Be okay. Be willingness to be okay with whatever it is. And if you want to change it, then do it in a loving way so that you can thrive in 25. And plus, remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lily McDermott wishing you a lovely new year, a wonderful, wonderful holiday season, whether you celebrate Hanukkah or Christmas or just the holidays, whether it's secular. I pray that you have a prosperous, unbelievable holiday season. Love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.